Welcome to HortTube, where we talk all things gardening. My name is Jim Putnam, and this is a Rheingold Arborvitae. This is Rheingold Arborvitae, a low-growing, slow-growing, evergreen conifer that has beautiful foliage throughout the year. Rheingold can reach between 4 and 5 feet in width and 4 and 5 feet in height. You could probably maintain this plant easily 3 by 3. It's slow growing, so it's kind of easy to do that. Rheingold Arborvitae is extremely cold hardy and can grow all the way up to zone 4, which has very, very cold nights, and all the way down to zone 8, which has very mild winters, so it covers quite a bit of area. Rheingold is slow growing, perhaps adding 3 or 4 inches per season, which makes it a fantastic foundation plant because it requires quite a bit less maintenance. Rheingold will definitely require at least a half a day's direct sun and will tolerate all the way to full sun. If you put it any less than that, you won't get any of the foliage color or contrast. In terms of where you would use Rheingold Arborvitae, this is a great foundation plant, a really, really great foundation plant. It's slow growing, so it can be maintained in that 3 or 4 foot height range pretty much permanently. And to me, that just makes it an absolutely perfect plant. I like foundation plants that grow slowly. It just means less maintenance. Also works great mass planted. This foliage color is incredible. It's this lime green color all summer long, and then it starts to get this coppery color. This is in the fall now, so it's just starting to get a little bit of that color on the top. And it's just absolutely fantastic year round for a foliage color. Rheingold Arborvitae actually seems like 2 plants during the year. For about half the season, maybe April to fall, it's a beautiful lime green color. And then in the fall, mid to late fall and winter, it actually turns a coppery color, which it's October now, and it's starting to make that transition between the two right now. I actually think it's when it's at its prettiest is in the mid-spring and in the fall when it has this two-tone coloration. In terms of planting Rheingold Arborvitae, this is a plant that we're going to want to mound up some. It's not the most wouldn't be the most tolerant plant in the world of wet soils. So if you have any kind of clay-based soil or any kind of soil that stays wet between rains, you're definitely going to want to elevate this plant when you plant it. If you have very sandy soils, you may want to add some compost or something just to hold a little bit of moisture in place between rains. But really, we want to keep this plant a little bit on the dry side. That doesn't mean I didn't just say never ever water your Rheingold Arborvitae, but definitely not wet. When we dig the hole for this thing, we'll dig at the depth of the root ball and then maybe twice the width of the root ball. If you have clay-based soils, I would mix some pine bark soil conditioner with the clay that you pulled out of the hole. It's what we're growing these plants in. Most of the plants you're going to buy are going to be grown in a mixture that includes this pine bark or some sort of bark because it drains really, really well. So we're going to mix that bark 50-50 with the clay. We're going to put some of that mix back into the bottom of the hole, so maybe 2 inches of it, so that when we pull our plant out of the container and set it into the ground, it actually sits up a couple inches. Then we'll pull the rest of our loose soil up to the edge of that, tamp it down, lightly mulch this plant. Do not over mulch this plant. Don't cover anything that's not covered when you get it, and just have it fade out before it reaches the plant. And if you have sandy soils, you follow the same instructions. You're just going to use compost mixed with the sand 50-50 and put some of it at the bottom of the hole and put your plant in there so it's sitting up again. Same operation. Water it in well and lightly mulch it. It is possible when you pull your Rheingold Arborvitae out of the container that the roots are going to be wound pretty tightly inside of here. They could be kind of root bound. If that's the case, definitely pull at them some to get them going outward and not continuing to wrap around one another. Like I said, Rheingold will definitely want to dry out between rains or between waterings. So when we're watering this plant, there might be a couple times during the summer that you have to drag a water hose to it, but do not put this plant on an automated sprinkler system if you're in clay-based soils. If you're using this in a coastal area, obviously it dries out, very severely between rains at times, and maybe on an automatic system that would be okay because the soil also drains pretty readily. But anywhere that you had soil that you thought stayed moderately moist most of the time, definitely do not put this on an automatic system, and just maybe 2 waterings during the summer if during really, really hot and dry times was adequate. If you have to water the plant, water all the way around it in a wide area around it. Don't just water right at the center of the plant. We want to encourage the roots to go outward and not just stay right in the center spot where you planted it. In terms of fertilizing, Rheingold Arborvitae, I would definitely fertilize this plant in the spring, and I would use something for acid-loving plants like holly-tone would be a great organic option. It'll last 3 or 4 months, and the foliage color is amazing on this plant in the middle of summer with that lime green foliage. And that fertilizer will definitely help to keep that foliage color all season. I think one of the best selling points of this plant is its slow growth, so you're rarely ever gonna have to prune it. When you do, prune it below where you actually want to keep it. If you're trying to keep this plant 3 feet, prune it down to 2.5 feet. So it has a couple seasons to come back out and take a natural look and not be such a tight little round ball all the time. Rheingold Arborvitae get very few pests. They are susceptible to spider mites. Typically that happens on stressed plants, plants that are too wet or too dry or poorly planted or over mulched or put in too much shade. Those types of things. There's stress involved before the spider mites end up attacking the plant. Your main issue with this plant is if you put it in too wet of a space or over mulched it or over watered it, you'd almost certainly end up with root rot. Deer rarely ever mess with these. So what are you waiting for? Even you can grow the slow growing, low maintenance Rheingold Arborvitae. Thank you for watching my video, and if it was helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for future videos. Also comment below with any questions you have about Rheingold Arborvitae. Thanks again.